and welcome everyone to our summer safety webisode. My name is Emily Beury. I'm a health services specialist here at Geisinger, and today we are diving into how to stay safe, safe and active and injury-free during these summer months, whether we're gardening, we're traveling, we're going for walks, relaxing at home, just enjoying the sunshine. There are simple steps we could take to prevent injuries and just stay well in general. So, with me today, I have Deb Erdman. Deb is a nurse coordinator with Geisinger's Trauma Center. So, I just want to say welcome, Deb. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, before we get started, I just want to put a disclaimer out there that this information is being provided to increase your awareness and is not intended to be medical advice. If you believe you have any specific medical conditions or have specific questions regarding your health, we ask that you please see your physician. So let's get started here. So, summer, it naturally draws us to the outdoors, whether we're walking, gardening, enjoying local events like festivals and fairs. But with that comes an increase in activity, which comes a greater risk of falls and different injuries. Whether we're hiking on uneven trails, climbing ladders for doing our yard work, or navigating slippery poolside surfaces, we're exposed to a lot of different environmental hazards. So, of course, safety is important all year round, but summer definitely presents some more unique challenges that are really worth highlighting, and that's what we're going to do today. So, Deb, to kick us off, are there any noticeable trends in injury or fall rates during summer that really highlight why this topic is so important to talk about?
Well, to start with, we see trauma injuries all year round, but we also see traumas seasonally. So the summer is unique in that we know it as the 100 deadliest days, and that's from Memorial Day through Labor Day. And this is what we call our trauma season. And it is undeniable that there's an uptick in traumatic injuries, and for all the reasons you just mentioned, and so many more. Days are longer and warmer, and we all want to be outside and doing things and being active. So in general, we see an increase in motor vehicle crashes. We see an increase in motorcycle crashes, pedestrian incidents, because if you're not in a vehicle, you're a pedestrian, and everybody is out and about. And remember, kids are out of school, and we most definitely see an increase in pediatric injuries this time of year. During this time of year, safety awareness is an important topic in injury prevention, because trauma is 100% preventable. Injuries are 100% preventable. It doesn't have to happen. Trauma is studied like a disease process because people die from it. And it is the only disease process that's 100% preventable. When we look at disease processes, we study three things: the host, the environment, and the agent. And the host is the person themselves, okay? And then the environment, and we're not talking about just weather issues or temperature issues, but it could be your own personal environment, your psychosocial, your mental health, your physical health. And then anything that's inherently dangerous, that's the agent. And when I buy an island and I make my own rules and become queen, there are certain things that I'm going to outlaw. And some of those things are going to be trampolines, flip-flops, and Crocs. And if you're on a two-wheeled vehicle, whether it is motorized or not, you will wear a helmet. So you can take any one of those three things, the host, the environment, and the agent, and you change one of those three things or combination, you can prevent a traumatic injury. And in case in point is you wear your seatbelt, you don't drink and drive, and you try not to drive in bad weather, and you slow down. You change something to change the outcome. So, and in this time of year, of course, especially with our youngins, we see an unusual uptick in drownings. And even though that's not considered a traumatic injury, they still come to the trauma service, and it's very unfortunate. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think you put a good point out there that there's a lot of different ways from motor vehicles to us being active and all that that can really play a part in injury and is very much preventative. Yeah. And we talk about staying active a lot with wellness and how it's essential for our health, but really doing it safely and especially in the summer and in the heat, it's important to stay active and be healthy. So from my own experience, one thing that I always prioritize when I'm out and about being active in the summer is really staying well hydrated, making sure that I replenish with electrolytes. I always feel a lot of that, especially if I'm sweating a lot, or if it's humid outside, which I feel like it has been recently. Um, so my next question for you, Deb, is what are some safe ways to stay physically active in the summer without risking injury or maybe overheating?
So the one of the biggest things that we talk about, and you said it well, is drink before, during, and after any activities. Okay. And when we talk about kids being active, especially now, because we're coming into the part of the summer where we're going to have sports camps, and especially our football camps are going to be start opening up. And so we always tell the kids, you need to take 10 gulps of water for every 20 minutes of play. And a gulp actually equates to about a half an ounce to an ounce of fluid. And so our older kids and our older adults, we say you need 20 gulps about every 20 minutes, especially when you're being very active. One of the other things is just staying cool, being active earlier in the morning or earlier in the day when it's the coolest, and maybe later in the afternoon, like, getting towards the evening, towards dusk. You need to slow down. Sometimes you need to take breaks, especially when you're feeling it. Get in the shade, get into air conditioning, but frequent breaks while you're being active. And wear light colored loose clothing that allows your body to breathe, because a lot of the cooling comes from just sheer evaporation. So wearing cottons and linens and cool clothing like that helps a lot.
No, I think those are some great tips, and I've never heard of the 10 and 20 gulps, so that's
That
interesting.
comes from Safe Kids Worldwide.
So, speaking of summer heat, I actually heard that some medications will sometimes affect how our bodies can handle high temperatures, and also hydration. It's something that might not always be the top of mind. We're not always thinking about medication and how that can affect us in the summer, but definitely something worth paying attention to, especially during hotter months. So, Deb, how can medications impact our risk for falling or injuries?
Well, specifically, a lot of medications such as diuretics, sedatives, tranquilizers, and some heart and blood pressure medications can actually make it harder for the body to stay cool in and of itself and cause dehydration. And there's also some medications out there. There's a lot of antibiotics and some over the counter medications that are actually sensitive to the sun. So you have to be particular about how much time you spend in the sun under certain medications. Some of these, like I said, some of these medications can cause dehydration. And with dehydration, it can cause you to become dizzy and lightheaded. And changing your position under these conditions can actually drop your blood pressure precipitously or quickly, especially going from a lying to a sitting to a standing position, can drop your blood pressure very quickly, and that could cause a fall. And it's not just our older folks, this could be anybody.
Right. Absolutely. And Deb, if a fall does happen, whether, like you said, we're changing position, maybe we're by the pool, we're in our yard doing gardening, or just even in our home, right? Just doing everyday activities, and we're alone. it can definitely be frightening. What should someone do if they do fall and they are alone in that situation?
Well, one of the things that we recommend, especially with our older adults, is to keep your cell phone on you at all times because it can happen. A fall can occur anytime, anywhere, be it outside or indoors. Keep it in a pocket or a sling crossbody bag so that you have it close at hand. Even some of us who have our landlines, you need to keep it within reach. So not high up on a wall, but on a desk or a tabletop where you can get to it quickly. So one of the things that we also recommend is that if you do fall, everybody wants to quick do a sit up. If don't do a sit up, okay, because you might be injured and not realize it. So what we want you to do is just, it's more your dignity has been hurt than anything sometimes, but just take a moment, breathe, take some deep breaths, calm yourself. That helps bring your blood pressure and your heart rate down so you can think. If you can, you want to do an inventory, like a head to toe, moving body parts from top to bottom. Make sure that nothing hurts. If it does hurt, don't move. Try to get help. But if nothing hurts, try to get yourself onto your side. Okay, and with every with every position change, you need to, again, take some breaths, do the inventory, top to bottom, make sure nothing hurts, and then try to slowly from your side get into a sitting position. And with a sitting position, again, do the breathing, do the inventory, and then if you can't get up from that position, you could either scoot yourself on your bottom to a sturdy piece of furniture or a stairwell that you could climb up backwards on. We don't recommend you trying to use a drawer or a cabinet door because those things were not meant to bear your weight. And if you can't get up, again, try to make noise to get somebody's attention if you're outside. So with that, we also recommend carrying a whistle with you. Okay, just to keep it in your pocket or on a lanyard or something that you could use to get somebody's attention. If you can get up from a sitting position to get up on all fours and again crawl yourself to a sturdy piece of furniture or a stairwell to help you get to an upright position. And remember, with every position change, breathe, take an inventory, and then try to get yourself to a standing position to where you could sit. Then once you're standing, get to where you can sit down and kind of like, again, take another inventory. If anything hurts, you call 911, get help, and again, try to make noise to get attention.
Yeah, I think those are all some great tips of what to do. I know I've had the privilege in the past of hearing you speak a little bit about this, and something that always stuck with me was always having my phone on me, and it just sticks in my head wherever I go, even if it's just like outside to the bathroom. Like I always have my phone with me. So great tips. And knowing what to do when you fall alone is crucial, especially in summer, but really anytime. There could be heat related illnesses like dehydration, heat exhaustion, which can also increase our risk of dizziness or fainting, not feeling good. For our awareness, can you explain any signs of heat illnesses like heat exhaustion or heat stroke?
Okay. Well, heat exhaustion is generally a sudden feeling of dizziness, headache, nausea, cold sweating. Okay, where you get kind of like a chill, and that means you're doing too much. You need to slow down. You need to get to a cool spot. You need to like use cool cloths, maybe around your neck or on your face, to try to help alleviate some of the symptoms. Drink. We try to avoid caffeinated drinks, okay? High sugary drinks and or alcohol because everybody thinks they're going to reach for that cold beer. Well, not so much. You really don't want, because all those things actually can cause diuresis, or it can cause you to become more dehydrated. You want to get cool off with some wet cloths, like I said, maybe get a cool shower or just get into shade or air conditioning and just kind of to cool off right away. Now, if that occurs, it could actually lead to heat stroke. And heat stroke, this is a medical emergency now, because what happens is that the body's temperature actually rises above what you would feel like with a fever. It can get upwards of 104 degrees Fahrenheit, okay, which is can be very dangerous to a body. So that could be upwards to, and if you cause Celsius, we're probably talking 39, 40 degrees Celsius, which can be very dangerous for the body. You can feel faint, or a person can faint, can pass out. They can become confused and act a little strange, okay, almost like they're punch drunk is how I could best describe it. And they actually stop sweating. And if that occurs, this is a medical emergency and you need to call 911, because the skin can become flushed. It can cause, like I said, an increase in the body temperature. You want to get them into a cool place, shade or indoors. You want to get the cool cloths on them, maybe a cool bath or a shower, or get fans on them. Okay. And again, if they do become unconscious, this is a medical emergency and you need to call 911.
Yeah, I think that's super, super, super important to know. Deb, not to shift gears a little bit, but in the Q&A, we got the question when you referenced Crocs. Someone is
Mhm.
asking why are Crocs not appropriate footwear?
Well, especially if they're not in sport mode or four-wheel
Mm.
drive, meaning that strap is around your ankle, they can actually they're very slippery and wet. And especially in the first thing in the morning or in the afternoon when the dew settled on the grass, okay, people can slip and slide on them. I know myself, I have wood partitions between my bricks in my backyard, and I've seen my husband go flying in a pair of Crocs when that wood gets wet from the rain or anything like that. And yes, they can be, it's very dangerous footwear. Plus, if they're not strapped on properly and you have to run for any reason or be in a hurry, they fly off real quick. And I've seen a
Mm-hmm.
lot of stubbied toes from flip-flops and Crocs.
Yes.
Not and don't think I don't wear both, because I do. But you have to take that extra little bit of precaution
Right.
and awareness.
Right. Nope. Good points. Yes, because I also own Crocs, so I was kind of curious about that.
Mhm.
Oh, thank you. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about prevention. And I think you mentioned this at the beginning that this is all very much preventable. A lot of these injuries and falls, and can be avoided with just a few minor or mindful changes to our daily routine. So with that being said, let's dive into some practical ways we can reduce our risk and really keep ourselves, and not only ourselves, but those around us, healthy and injury free. So, what are some simple habits people can adopt to reduce their risk of everyday injuries?
So did we mention anything about fluids and drinking fluids constantly? Staying hydrated, number one, staying
Key.
hydrated. Don't do any heavy activities, in the heat of the day. And that's usually between 10 and 4, right? When it's the hottest part of the day. And I swear sometimes in the afternoon it gets hotter yet in the evening. Eat small, frequent meals instead of 3 large ones or 2 large ones, however your habit is, because sometimes a full stomach too can really kind of sort of drag you down. And and with that you want to do fresh fruits and vegetables and those kinds of, and right now there's a big push for proteins, but you want to eat lightly. You don't want to eat
Mhm.
heavily, because that can play a lot. You want to try to stay in a cool place, shade especially. So one of the things, like I face east. My office window actually faces east, and it's a big picture window, and because I'm facing it right now, and I keep my shades pulled down, and my light off in my office because I psychologically I feel like it's cooler. Okay, so keeping shades down, keeping curtains pulled, blinds closed, actually during the heat of the day can actually keep your home or rooms cooler. And you want to, and one big thing that I try to emphasize whenever I'm doing any kind of outreach is remember to check on each other. Our extremes of age are usually the ones that are most susceptible to these extremes of weather, and that's our young children, especially our infants, because infants don't sweat. Babies don't sweat until they're at least a good 6 months to a year old, because it's their body composition and they're maturing. And then our
Mhm.
older adults, because again, we get to a certain point in our lives where we don't sweat as much as we used to when we were younger. So it's those extremes of age that we need to be mindful of. And I like that word mindful, Emily. Um, Checking on each other. Because I know,
Mhm.
again, I'm going to throw my husband under the bus. When he's out on the property doing his thing, I every now and then will walk out a couple bottles of water to him because I know he will not take a break to
Right.
take a drink. So I'm making sure I'm getting him fluid, and I'm always asking him, "Did you at least eat something today?"
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like you kind of touched on the next question I had, which was really around sleep, nutrition, and of course, we talked about hydration a lot today,
Mhm.
and how that can contribute to injury prevention. Do you have anything on how like your sleep or anything might affect injuries or prevent injuries or falls?
Yeah, absolutely. Sleep is so important, and I know we talking now about your sleep health, and sleep helps our bodies to repair and recharge. And as adults in our age group, we need at least a good 7 to 8 hours of good sleep a night, and with our kids, 9 to 10 to 12 hours. And I know as and even teenagers, and one of the things that I think some people kind of sort of put off are naps. Naps are like recharging your battery, even 20 to 40 minutes, maybe in the afternoon, just to kind of um, recharge is not a bad thing. Um, but I know our sleep health is it's very important.
Right.
Nutrition keeps our bodies healthy. It strengthens our muscles, our bones, our our muscles. It helps prevent strains and sprains and decreases risks of fractures, especially. Lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, especially this time of year,
Hmm.
because of our body makeup. We're 70 to 80% water. Our body is 70 to 80% water. And we need it for joint health, muscle functions, our temperature regulation, kidney and heart and brain function. And so, with that being said, and nutrition wise, eating fresh fruits and vegetables, especially this time of year, watermelon, these kinds of things, ice cream, oh, all my favorites, right? They can actually give you 20 to 30% of your fluid intake just by eating fresh fruits and vegetables.
Oh yeah,
So,
love the watermelon.
yeah. Yep. Any
That
kind
is
of
my
melon.
favorite.
Yeah.
Right. So Deb, let's shift into, we talked about nutrition, hydration, sleep. Uh, let's talk just a little bit more about movement and activity. So I think we can all agree being active is important for our overall health and wellness. What role does strength and flexibility play in reducing injury risk?
Well, we all need to stay active to keep our endurance, our strength, and our balance and our flexibility. We need to all keep moving. I know myself, I keep a timer on my desk because when I'm in the office, when I'm not out in the community doing outreach, I actually keep a timer on my desk, and at least every half hour to an hour, depending on, because if I get deep into something, I don't want to stop. But at least
Right.
hourly, I try to get up and walk the hall, or just get up from my chair because I notice a little hip stiffness. And, once my orthopedic surgeon told me that I'm getting old, no kidding, and it's arthritic changes, unfortunately. So it's just keep moving, even if it just means getting up from the chair during a commercial break and going into the kitchen and getting something to drink or a snack. Getting up at least hourly again when you're sitting at the computer just to keep moving. And remember, we don't have to be a professional athlete to do warm-ups. If you're going outside to do anything, even if it's just going for a walk, or you're going to clean out your car, or you're going to go grocery shopping or anything like that, it's good to put your joints through a range of motion. And that's, fingers, wrists, elbows, shoulders, just to kind of get things warm up. And remember during those warm ups to breathe, because you got to get oxygen to those muscles, because muscles hurt after an activity because they're not getting enough oxygen. And it produces a lactic acid, and this is what gives you those muscle aches. So warming up and cooling down during any kind of activity. Um, and again, just keep moving because we all fall. Okay, we got our itty bitties who fall off, the changing tables, and then we've got them falling off their tricycles and the monkey bars and their bicycles, and then we've got our older working adults who fall off of ladders and out of trees and off of roofs, and then we have our older adults where this gravity just gets you sometimes. So if we can keep moving, keep flexible, it helps again with that endurance. It keeps strength and it keeps your balance and with your flexibility.
No, great. Great to hear all that. And I think that's super important. You just got to keep moving, even if it's as simple as taking a break and walking. And sometimes it really is the most simple things that do make the biggest difference. As we wrap up, we're still doing great on time. As we wrap up today's discussion, Deb, what is one thing you would want everyone who is watching this or will watch this to remember about summer safety after today?
Biggest thing is stay cool, drink, wear comfortable, loose clothing, and remember that trauma and injuries are 100% preventable. You can do something to change the outcome,
Right,
right?
absolutely. And just to end it on this, for those who want to learn more or share any of this information with others, it's helpful to know where they can turn to. Of course, they have this webisode, but what other resources or programs would you recommend for learning more about summer safety and injury prevention?
Well, there's always, the computer and the websites, right? And a lot of the resources that I go to myself are like, especially for our kids, is going to Safe Kids Worldwide. So all you have to do is Google search Safe Kids and it'll take you right there, and it can give you all kinds of great tips for all age groups, from our infants throughout to our teenagers. Then there's the CDC, of course, and all you have to do is put something in the Google search bar, in the search bar for those websites. We can go to the NIH or the National Institute of Aging, especially for our older adults. And I'm going to put a shameless plug in that I do try to at least weekly put in something into the Engage website. So I put stuff in All's Company, and then I have my own webpage, which is the trauma webpage. And again, I try to put some kind of safety blurb in there weekly, and everybody's welcome to respond to them. I try to get back to you if I see the responses. And you can always, again, as in all things, you can refer to your primary care physician or your PA, your nurse practitioner, whomever, if you have any questions, especially about medications and fall risks.
Yeah, awesome. a good list there for all ages and everything. So thank you, Deb.
Welcome.
So that we ended right on time today. How awesome is that? So thank you so much, Deb, for sharing your insights, your tips, your experiences. I also want to thank everybody who joined us well today. I'm hoping you feel a lot more prepared to really take on the rest of summer, stay healthy, stay injury free. If you guys have any questions or comments, feedback, feel free to reach out to the wellness email. It's wellness@geisinger.edu. And then also be sure to join us next month when we talk about fad diets. So thank you everyone for joining. Thanks again, Deb.
Thank you.
And stay safe, everyone. And I will see you all next time.